Imagine carrying a weight that isn't entirely yours but feels impossibly heavy. That sensation of discomfort, of unspoken pain, may have followed you for as long as you can remember. It shows up in silent moments, in relationships, in the presence of strangers who inadvertently reveal a truth you'd rather not see. What if that heaviness isn't a flaw or a weakness, but a signal? What if it's an uninvited calling, an invitation to see the things the world tries to look away from? I'm Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, my channel to help you uncover what's real within yourself and, if you choose, to find your essence and your unique place in the world. This platform began as a space for people living with PTSD and complex trauma, but I've come to realize something broader along the way, that no one escapes life unscathed. Whether you're deep in the throes of struggle or just starting to ask questions, you can't ignore this is a place for you. Each of us carries old stories, societal patterns, and generational imprints that many of us never chose. Yet here we are. This is for anyone willing to keep living or unwilling to keep living somebody else's narrative. Here we aim for something raw and true, something human. There's a lot of talk about empaths and how they feel too much, are focused on healing too much and end up exhausted carrying the emotional burdens of others. But what if we've misunderstood their purpose all along? What if their role isn't about fixing people or mending brokenness? What if instead they're meant to shine a light on the parts of humanity we've collectively buried, the collective shadow, as some would call it? This isn't just an idea confined to the realm of mysticism or psychology. It's a perspective rooted in the work of Carl Jung, someone who spent his life exploring the hidden layers of human experience. An empath, at their core, is a mirror. They reflect what others cannot see or will not see in themselves. Their emotional sensitivity isn't a wound or a defect, it's an initiation. Empaths absorb the unspoken rage, the shame, and the generational pain that society often tries to ignore. They're not here to bandage the world's problems, but to pull them into view. It's not comfortable work, and it's often thankless. Still, it's essential because without awareness of these hidden truths, we remain stuck, repeating patterns, inflicting harm, and losing touch with what makes us whole. Jung wrote that extensively about the shadow and parts of ourselves that we deny, reject, and repress. What he describes or described on an individual level also applies to entire cultures. Every society, every group has its shadow. Empaths don't simply feel their own pain, they feel the weight of the collective. It may manifest as the anger of ancestors or the unresolved wounds of a community. This internalization of what has been left unresolved isn't random. It happens because empaths, like spiritual tuning forks, resonate with the untold stories and forgotten struggles of those around them. But this isn't a destiny of doom. It's a calling that requires courage, and it requires clarity. To live as an empath is not to drown under the weight of unprocessed truths, but to help usher them into the light. Think of an empath as a psychic midwife, or doctor, if you like, someone who helps bring what's hidden to the surface, not by force, but by presence and authenticity. Healing, if it happens, is a side effect. The true gift empaths offer isn't soothing, it's revelation. Can be shocking. When they embody what others might avoid or would rather avoid, they inspire real transformation. Their greatest power isn't in doing, but in being. Still, this path isn't easy. It often begins in confusion and pain. Many empaths believe they're broken. They feel too much, absorb too much. They're overwhelmed by the intensity of it all. But what if All this suffering is less about individual flaws and more about an empath's initiation. What if the pain isn't theirs alone, but is instead a map pointing towards what needs attention, what needs integration? Personal healing for empaths starts here with the realization that their pain is often a reflection of the collective, not an isolated burden. Dreams, emotions, and symbolic messengers rather than enemies. This perspective shifts everything. The work empaths are called to do isn't about fixing or curing, it's about integration, bringing what has been repressed back into the whole. The first step in this process is self-respect. Empaths cannot offer clarity to others without cultivating boundaries and discernment for themselves. Boundaries aren't walls, they're tools of alignment. When empaths no longer see themselves as martyrs or sponges, then they step into sovereignty or into themselves or into the role that God may have put them here for. They become capable of holding pain without being consumed by it. This shift is what transforms the wound into the chalice. And the difference is profound. A wound bleeds, but a chalice holds. And what's the ultimate purpose of this alchemy? To awaken, not just themselves, but those around them. Mature empaths are catalytic by nature. Their mere presence stirs the unconscious truths in others, whether those truths are pain, brilliance, or some combination of the two. They won't force you to change. They don't need to. Their role is to stand unflinching in their authenticity to embody what it means to be whole. And in doing so, inspire others to begin their own journeys toward integration. Society often tries to romanticize the empath as a self-sacrificing healer. But this narrative does a little justice to their deeper purpose. They're not here to fix others, but to challenge cultural myths and, and actually what the definition of what healing has even come to mean or represent to people in our societies. Healing isn't about covering wounds or erasing scars. It's about seeing what's real, even when it's uncomfortable. And in this sense, empaths become myth makers. When unconscious, they carry the world's stories without question. But as they awaken, they begin to rewrite these stories. They become bridges between the worlds of shadow and light, dusk and dawn, carrying both within themselves and offering new perspectives to those willing to see. Now, here's the truth, as I see it. This isn't easy work. It isn't glamorous, and it isn't for the faint of heart, but it's some of the most meaningful work a person can do. Empaths aren't broken. They're architects of transformation. They're here to show us what we'd rather forget. And in doing so, remind us of what it means to be whole. I'm Mark Roach. This is Transcendent, wishing you all the best.